Today we're going to go over how to import modules and libraries written by other developers into our own code. A module is a file that contains code. A script, on the other hand, is a file that contains code and is meant to be run, meaning it's an executable. So as we can see here on this first.py file, I have created these three functions, but none of them is being called. So this will be considered a module. If I run this code, essentially nothing happens. Now if I add a call to any of these functions, then this file now would be considered a script, because when you call this file, something is being executed. People use these two terms, module and script, interchangeably, so although it's nice to know what's what, don't get too attached to these definitions. Even if both first and second.py are local files, meaning they are in my computer and in the same folder, let's see what happens when I try to run my function from the second.py file. So let me just delete this, save this file again, hop over to second.py, and now let me try to run this function. And as you can see here, we get a name, my function is not defined, name error. And the reason for that is this function is defined in the other file. Its scope doesn't extend to this one. For me to be able to use this function in this file, I need to import it. And the way to do that is like this. And now as you can see, the yellow underline has gone away because there's no error anymore. So it would include the keyword first, from, then where you're importing this from, import the next keyword, and then whatever it is you are importing. So I'm just going to run this code. As you can see, the function is being now run properly. And another thing that you can pay mind to is that there's another way to rename these functions from this second.py file now here. And the way to do that is to include as, and let's say I'll use this new function as mf. So as you can see here, this my function is not defined anymore because it's being renamed in a sense to mf. And this is essentially the same thing, but you might want to do that for organization purposes or for ease of use. Another thing to note is that if you import code that calls a function, that function will run again. Let me save this. And as you can see here, because I'm importing from first, and first has this executable third function being run, it's printing A and B, as we can see here. The way to import more than one function or even variables, you separate each value with a comma. And as you can see here, now I'm executing the other function with the values 2 and 3. And the other function mainly prints the sum of both values. There are many modules that we can use to obtain functionality. To give you an example of one of the more common ones, let's take the math module for example. This will give us access to many math operations and even variables like pi. The math module is part of Python's standard library, which we get when we download Python from python.org. So we don't need to download anything to use it. To showcase it, let's print the pi variable. Sorry, just a small correction. Pi is not a variable. Pi is a very constant. To download and install modules that are not part of the standard library, we need to run in our command line the pip command. Pip stands for Preferred Installer Program, and if you have downloaded Python from python.org, it should already come installed. However, if you want to check that, just run the following line in the command prompt: pip -- version. And you can see here I have pip 22.0.4, and it's saved under this folder location, this path. To download and install a package or library, you will use the command pip install and then the name of the library you want to download. So let's say I want to download Pygame, pip install Pygame. And the thing is, I already have Pygame in my computer, so the requirement is already satisfied, and it's showing me the location where Pygame is saved. To see what packages you already have installed, you can run the command pip list. And as you can see, I have all of these modules and these packages saved in my computer. Now there's a caveat to downloading libraries like this, just putting pip install and downloading them straight to your computer. The thing is, one module could influence more than one program you might want to run. It is a good practice to use virtual environments to download your modules. So a virtual environment is like a folder in a sense, but it contains the usability of a particular package into that one environment. So imagine for a sec that you have a few different applications that you have created and you run from time to time. But one of them uses a version 2.0 of a package, while another one uses the version 3.0. You would need both versions installed in your computer, and for that, you should use a virtual environment. I will leave a link in the description about how to install a virtual environment. Today's exercise is fairly straightforward. Since you will need to search how to create a virtual environment, I thought maybe I'd make it easy on you. Just create a file, import this, and run this code and see if it brings you to a page with a comic. I will leave a link for the standard library documentation on the video's description. It's a good idea to browse the library's documentation since researching is an integral part of your journey as a developer. And that was it for today. Thank you for watching and have a great one.